from the Windy City, it's time for JW Fusion with your hosts, James and Wendy B.
Welcome to this week's installment of JW Fusion. I'm your co-host, James Carpenter-Barnes, and I'm here with my lovely, and she told me don't say excited, but she is excited, wife,
Wendy B.
Wendy B, the one and only.
I am excited. You're right.
I know, and
I'm
you
so
ought to
excited.
be. You ought to be. You ought to be. You have to be.
I have
with
to
the
be.
guest we got today.
This guest right here.
She came here packing.
She ready.
She came in here packing. You hear me? She loaded.
She came ready
with info and the anointing.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
so,
and not in that order.
So listen, baby, introduce our special guest.
Well, this is our good friend, the amazing author, public speaker, marketing genius, and I'm sure I'm leaving out a couple
Overcomer specialist.
Overcomers. You see what I'm saying? This is the awesome and amazing Ericka Glorious Moore.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be
See,
here. Somebody else that's
it's too excited.
like me.
There we go. So, Ericka, real quick, let's just come on out
Get it out
with
the
it.
way. I know.
The people want to know. Like, is this your government name, Ericka Glorious Moore?
Yes, it
Okay.
is. Yes, it is.
Is there a story behind this?
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, let's hear it real quick.
Okay, well, it was my grandmother's name.
Wow.
My grandmother's first name was Glorious.
Okay.
And so the same question you're asking me, I had it happen all throughout school, especially in college. And one of the teachers, he said, do you know what he said he was going to call me? He said, because my name's Ericka Glorious Moore, he said, we're going to say it's more glorious when Ericka comes in the room.
Oh.
So I like that.
I like
That's
that a
very
lot.
positive.
Right.
That's positive.
Now, I don't know what's going to
That's
happen when I
awesome.
get married. I don't know what his last name going to be. But,
We're going to talk.
for right now,
We're going
that's
to
what I
pray.
got.
It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. So tell us, you have so many things. Now, one thing that I was excited about, I did read your book.
You did.
This book is, and I thought, okay, so real talk. It's called Memoirs of Singlehood.
Yes.
And Steps Toward Marriage. So,
Right.
I thought, well, I'm already married, but I'm going to just read it because, I said I would because I don't need it. But I saw so much of myself in this book. Yes. And I feel that although you probably have more of a female presence or audience with this book, I feel that if gentlemen, boys, men alike would read this, they'd have more of an insight.
I agree. I agree with that because I read it too. I didn't relate to it from a lady's perspective. I related to it from an objective. Mm-hmm. Like if I have a daughter, she's older, and but if she was adolescent age, this would be something I would, hey, look, read this.
We have granddaughters, though.
We got granddaughters.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what made you write about this? And you put so much of yourself. This is personal in here.
Yeah, it's very transparent.
What happened? What brought this around?
Well, I'd say might be now 10 years because this was a 9-year dream. I think we're into 10 because it's 2019. That God put it on my heart after I had some different things that had happened in my life. And I remember going to one of the pastors at church and asked her about Pastor Nancy, and I said, this is on my heart to write this book. But at that time, I was like, oh my gosh, well, I want everybody to know all that about me. Mm-hmm. I was still broken and feeling embarrassed and all that. And she said, well, she goes, Ericka, she says, you don't have to do it. Mm-hmm. She said, but if God will have you to do it, you're going to know what you should say, how much to say, and when you should say it.
God will lead you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so I began and stopped many times because I didn't think I was a writer and all that, but we'll get into that later. But so that's how it started.
That's
okay.
awesome.
That's awesome. Because the hardest is 2 hard points of the book: starting and finishing it. Mm-hmm. I just finished Friday, Shattered Ceilings.
Woo-hoo. Book number 2.
And got it sent off to the editor. It took Wendy with a stick chasing me down the hall. You see how long this hallway is?
That's a long hallway.
That's a long hallway.
I thought I was in a 5K to get to the back.
He did too.
I didn't know what
I
was
was
going
chasing
on. I
him.
was like, wait, are we still going to the studio?
Ericka, she would be on my this your right there, right? Because she decided, because I'm always editing things for the radio show, for the Wendy Life, for the video portion of our radio program. I'm editing video all the time, so I don't take the time to write. I said, babe, I don't have time. No. She said, your right days are Wednesday. No, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I finally.
You locked him in.
She did.
You have to.
She did. And I obeyed.
That's what you have to do at a dream. You have to have, you have to do that.
Yeah, I can get into that.
You can't just, say, okay, I have 5 minutes now. You have to lock that in if that's your dream.
You really
do.
do.
You have to take that time.
You
and
do.
he finished.
I finished it, and
how long did it take you?
well, I started writing this book. I started researching this book in 2008.
So you sound like what I was doing. That's
Yeah,
like
I started.
9 years.
Yeah,
But
Now,
that's
I
good
wrote-
that you guys are saying that because some people are thinking that they should be, I've been working on it for 3 months
No,
straight.
everybody's different.
What's wrong?
Everybody's
but sometimes
different. Yeah.
it's not the time for it to be out, but it's time for you to get started.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
For it to be on your heart.
Yep.
And the editor I have,
Diane
Ford, our sister to the north.
We love
Hey,
Diane.
She's doing the editing for me, and she would be on my James. Where's the manuscript? I'm gonna get it. I'm just checking. Where's the manuscript? So I got Diane in Canada, Wendy in Chicago, and the Lord in heaven finished this
Right.
book. But it was something that I started doing in 2008 because of something I heard Cindy Trim say, and I began researching, and I realized that, they say you write what you want to read. You write the book that you wish somebody else had written. So that's what I did. And it's a powerful book, and so I'm excited about it.
But it's interesting you say that because that's what people said about this one, this memoirs book, because they said, you're saying a lot of things that I faced.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
so it was relatable.
Exactly.
'Cause I'm very relatable and with people and everything. So it was like I was saying the stuff that a lot of women always are going through, but nobody had the
No one
courage to
talks
say
about it.
Right.
No one talks about
Exactly.
you scared of
Yes.
feeling judged. And
Yes.
especially, I remember being single because it was just 5 good minutes ago. You feel like you don't want to talk about steps toward marriage because you don't want to appear desperate. You have some baggage, you have some pain, some wounds, some shames that you don't want to really talk about it. So I love the way that, and then I forgot about the extra part of the title. It's a personal journey of beginning, hope, purity, and how to love again.
That's huge.
That's Jesus.
That's huge.
It
You
is.
know how many people shut down after being hurt? They just shut down.
They shut down.
They shut down.
They don't deal with it.
Right, which
And
makes it worse.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that the time frame that God would have me to finally finish it. So it's like how you said in 2008, I had around the same time, but then it was like what motivated me to finally finish it was odd. It's always odd too how God will do his timing. Because when my sister died in 2015 in January 8th of that year, it was February that God put his thumb on my heart and said, now we must finish it.
Yeah.
And so at that time, I stepped out and I said, okay, God, all right, because he was on every day. And I'm like, now I'm in the middle of grief. I'm like, now why are you going to
Lord,
talk
can we
about
wait
this
a minute?
book?
Yeah.
Not right now,
Yeah.
Lord. Can we,
Yeah.
Really,
But
is
you-
now the time for the
Right.
Yeah.
book?
He's
You
like,
know,
yes.
but
you know
it
what?
was.
You know
It
what, though?
was.
A lot of times, our best work comes when we're hurting because we have to lean so much more on the Holy Spirit to guide us. When everything's fine, a lot of us gets in it. But when you're hurting or when you've been wounded, or when you're afraid, even, because fear can be but fear can be something to spur you to seek after God even the more. I know that was the case for me. And what was interesting for me, I started this book in 2008. I wrote Between the Ticks of the Clock, the fiction novel I have out. That's 300 and something pages. Then I'm 7 chapters into the sequel to that book before I got back to this one. And it was just on me, finish this book. But I need to, no, you don't. That can wait. I want this done.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's interesting
So I
how he
understand.
navigates
Yeah,
you. Yeah,
he does.
too.
He does.
And I just thought it was just really cool because at that time it was very painful, but God was doing not only a work in regards to that, but he was healing so many things at that time.
Yeah.
So with this book, what is your goal? If someone of any age reads this book, what do you want them to get out of this?
Well, for me, I feel like I'm the underdog for the ladies. Like the ladies that didn't do everything right.
Which is most of us.
The ones that may have gotten pregnant early, that maybe went over some standards and broke some standards that was really important to them. And I'm speaking to those that may have a messy past and say, okay, that doesn't define you, because the things that I did, I felt like damaged goods. I felt like that was it for my life, and that there's no way God could use me ever. I mean, I felt that way for years.
Wow. And so many people feel that way, sadly.
Yeah.
If we woke up. And it's funny because he takes our pain. You can't have a testimony without a test.
Right.
And if we have a messy past, if we just get that together and heal,
Right.
what a testimony. And we're not the only ones. We feel like we're the only one. No one's ever done this. I know that no one will understand. I'll be judged. But as soon as you open your mouth, you realize, oh.
There was a lot of people, and that was the thing. By working through healing and all the things that I did behind the scenes. And then God said, okay, now I want you to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then you find out a lot of girls can now be broken free of shame and
Sure,
guilt.
sure.
And that God still loves them and that they still have a future for them. I think it's sometimes we ourselves can limit ourselves, but other people can put limitations on you and say, oh, well, you got that baby now, you're 20. What can you do now? They can still be the CEO. They can still go, have a singing career. They can still do things. Just because they did that doesn't mean that God's through with them.
Right.
And I want them to heal and not feel shame. I want to talk about those topics because I talked about some pretty deep topics.
You got personal.
Yeah.
You
I
got
did.
really personal.
It's courageous.
That's much courage.
It takes courage. And I'm going to tell you something. Any book that is significant, you have to tell the truth, because when you hide a portion of your story, people can tell, and people can also tell when you're laying it all on the line. They know when you are. They can sense it. They don't know that they're sensing it, but they'll be turned off. But if you're telling a person a story and there's pain behind that story, there's life experience, there's wisdom to be learned behind that story, their hearts are going to open, just like when they hear the word of God, because God inspired you to do something. And anything he inspires, it means he breathed on it and his presence is on it. And because of that, it's going to hit a person differently than just something somebody just put out there to try to make a buck. And so it takes courage to do that. And so I commend you for that. And the lives that will be spared, the condemnation that unfortunately religion will put on people. The religious system is one of the worst examples of love you can find. True love is found with individuals, but the religious system, it's just like Pastor Rob said, he has no use for religion. And that's something we talked about when he was on the show. Religion will kill you. It was religion that killed Jesus.
Right.
It was religion that choked out the early church and had them to go underground. So when you put out something like this and you're covering topics, it says, number one, to me, you ain't no punk.
Right.
I'm serious.
You can't be.
You can't be no punk.
Pour this
and
much
put
of
out something
yourself
like
in that book.
No, that's
Because
that
we
takes
bought
courage.
two. We bought one.
We got three.
We have three.
We got one, and we bought two
for gifts.
Yeah.
And the young lady that we talked
Oh,
about,
yes.
she said she felt empowered by it.
Wow.
And I pray that,
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
it was a blessing, and I was so glad when she sent me a message saying that she had read it and she learned a lot from it. And I was like, I told you, girl.
Yeah.
So, she's 18.
Wow.
And I'm like,
That's
if
the
somebody
key
had I
time.
read something like this at her age, I probably would have not made as many mistakes as I did.
And I keep hearing that.
Yeah.
I like James, we were saying earlier, you even said it too, like with girls and women, it's not just for them. And it's been amazing how many men
I love that.
yeah.
have
Oh,
read
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It
And
makes it even more powerful to me, though,
Yeah.
because a lot of times, men look at us like we don't know what to do with women as a whole. We don't.
They don't know what
they
to
all crazy. But just to hear this story, I'm sure some boys can even read it and be like, oh,
Yeah.
I try and talk to Matthew, our son, about it. Girls normally act a certain way for a reason.
Right.
They don't just
Came from a
come to work,
byproduct.
and then they come and they starting to act crazy.
Right.
I said, there's a reason. So
Something triggered it.
there's some kind of pain
Yeah,
in there. So you need to you don't have to understand it. You don't have to even like it,
Right.
but don't judge it because
Right.
you don't know.
Right.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
So we got too much to talk about.
I
See,
could,
Oh,
I
we
could
done
see.
talked
I
about-
could see.
Oh no, we gotta. Okay, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. We're gonna
Miss
move
Ericka,
on.
okay, so we talked about that hat. So take the author hat off.
Yeah.
Well, real quick though, do you have any plans for any other books though?
Oh yes, there'll be many more memoirs.
Awesome.
The second one is when
Also,
he
this
comes.
is going to be like a series.
Yes, because when he
Oh,
comes into my
good.
life, because God's going to bring him.
Good.
Yes.
Ooh.
And then when I have children,
Wait, stop. See,
he wouldn't tell me to prepare. and then
wait a minute,
Come
wait a
on.
minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
She's
Wait a minute.
I'm
You
speechless.
say that again. Say that again.
When he comes,
Not if.
no, when.
When.
She said no.
She said when.
She looked you
I
on your
love
left
that.
eye and said when.
Wait a minute,
Well-
babe. Oh, she leaned around the
She
mic.
did. She said no. Maybe he didn't hear me.
I'm like, I
when?
come all the way around. Yeah, when? I mean, why would God?
That's
I was
awesome.
told. Pastor Nancy told me I was in season of preparation back in 2000 and what 8, 9.
Yeah.
So why would God do that
Exactly.
and then not fulfill that?
Well, I know.
Come on.
We know from experience that there's a lot of things that we trip, and they have this thing called slips, trips, and falls. Life is filled with slips, trips, and falls before you get to that point where you get that blessing, that significant blessing. And that's what happened with us, because we both, especially Wendy, had made decisions that she was going to, she changed her life. She rearranged her life, restructured her life,
Everything.
and decided, Lord, look, I'm not gonna worry about no getting, relationship. And then here I come,
Right. You see what I'm saying, Erica?
here I come.
How long you guys been married? Maybe y'all will be in my second book because I had pearls of wisdom in here for
'Cause
men, women,
Yeah.
women
We've,
that are.
we've been married 3 years this July, and
Yeah.
we while we were dating, we were in counseling for 18 months
Right.
before we got married. Every week we went to counseling, and it was huge for Wendy to unpack her suitcase and for me to unpack my trunk.
Well, that's what I did here.
Yeah.
But what's important, I think a lot of
Yeah.
people, and I don't know if it's been said, I won't say it hasn't been said, but I hadn't heard. You have, girl, I need him, he needs to be this tall, he needs to have this kind of
Yeah.
income, he needs to come to the table with this. But what
wondering.
about you? What are you bringing to the table?
Yep.
So prior to meeting James, I was like, listen, Lord, okay, obviously, I'm not doing something right.
Yeah.
Because I keep getting the same kind of person getting on my nerves. So I'm going to sit back and I want you to just take out of me what's not of you, pour into me what the way you put me on this earth to be. Make me that person. I yield to you, and I'll stop doing this. I'll start doing that. I'll be unyielding with, no, that's not what's going to happen today. We're going to have this date. We're going to go home, boo. And if you don't like that, that's fine. You don't have to. But this will be our last date. You have to be strong in what you want, because I knew that I had done, see, he said 18 months with the two of us. I had done 2 years prior to him, taking out all of my baggage. That's why I just had a suitcase. See, I had a closet bulging
Right.
at the hinges.
Seems like-
Oh my goodness. It was sad. I was like, come on, please stay
was
close. Please stay close.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I said, obviously, so if you find, ladies, if you're finding that you keep being in that same relationships, the same thing keeps happening, don't say all men are dogs.
Right.
Something about you're attracting that type of person, because there are a lot of good men in this world. And same for men. There are a lot of good women in this world.
Right.
You
Yes.
just have to change something in you so as to
Yeah.
not attract
Yeah,
that person that you don't want.
You have to change your mindset. You have to change your expectation. You have
And
to
trust God.
You do. You really do. You have to move into a place of spiritual expectation. Lord, I put this down. I put this out, and the life that I'm living is conducive to a positive relationship being birthed into my life. And it's all about. I've heard you say things, Ericka, that I was like, wow, that's powerful what she's saying. You were just having a conversation at church, and I said, wow, that's powerful.
But that's how you know it's in her.
Yes, and
It's there. It's not just
talking-
something she wrote.
We were talking with our our adopted daughter, Keisha.
Yes.
And Ericka was saying some things. I said, wow, that is powerful. And she needed to be saying that
Right there.
to her
Right.
at that time. You know what I mean? And so when I heard that, I was like, wow, this woman is living what she's written.
Right.
You know,
And
people
that's
write
huge.
stuff and, you know, it was powerful. And so what I want to hear more about now, we know how powerful you are as far as overcoming in this particular area. Talk about overcoming the bullying.
Oh. Do we got enough time for that? Maybe
I
that
think
could
we
be
do.
another.
I think we do.
Okay. So,
Well, we can clearly see we're going to have you come back. We can see that already.
oh yeah, there's always things going on with me.
That's awesome.
Well, the bullying that began in elementary school, as young as I could remember. And I have a twin, Michelle, and we both used to actually get bullied all the time. And I would say, to the point, different times we would stay home because we actually dealt with depression. Like, well, in fear of the bullying, my mom would let us stay home. And my sister Tanya, she didn't even know until some years ago that the reason why we stayed home. She just thought we stayed home just because mom wanted to just let us stay home to hang out. And I said, no. I said, we was getting bullied all the time. And she was letting us stay home so we was out of that environment.
Okay.
And she said, I had no idea. And so it was like I dealt with in elementary school, I dealt with in high school, and I look exactly the same. And even into college, like with some people here and there, not as frequent. I mean, because when high school came, guys thought I was pretty. So then it was like I get the guys that like me, but then I was still getting bullied by the other ones that came from elementary school. So it was very defining of who I thought that I was at that time. I thought I was the ugliest thing walking around. Low self-esteem. You know, that if it could get lower than low self-esteem,
I always
it would
say
have
mine was
been.
in a sub-basement.
Yeah.
That's what I...
Well, you know what?
was low.
It's interesting you're saying that because I went through that. Wendy didn't deal with bullying.
Yes, Wendy
People-
did. Wendy just,
No,
they just
no,
didn't.
no.
Okay, we have to clarify.
Let's clarify this.
They would try to bully me because
tried
I was quiet, but they didn't know I was...
Wendy was
had anger
Wendy
management
beat up her
issues.
whole neighborhood, Ericka.
I
She
just
beat up her
swung.
whole neighborhood. She beat up everybody.
It wasn't the whole Ericka. Look at
She
me. It's
beat
not
up
the
About
whole.
half
she
of-
beat up
Just a
kids
couple.
twice her size.
Okay.
They
I
picked
had
on her,
anger.
and she would let her out. She let her out.
The other one.
We
yeah.
just call her her.
We keep
Yeah.
her locked away now.
She
Thank God.
doesn't
She's
come out.
dead.
She gone.
Now she ain't dead.
She
She just locked up.
Oh,
She's under good control.
Yeah, she's
Thank
under
you,
control.
Lord.
there you go.
But you know what? It's funny. My bullying started in my family, and we're gonna leave it. We're gonna leave it at that. You know, I was skinny and I was funny looking, and my sister was the prettiest, and she's beautiful. To this day, I think we always argue.
I'm like, you're stunning.
I didn't get, and thank you, but I didn't get that at a young age, and it started in my family. And so when it got to school, it was out of fear that I would just lash out and hit somebody. Like, I can't talk, and I'm thinking what you're saying is true anyway, but I just need to hit you one good time in the face. But that wasn't a healthy way to deal with bullying or my fears or my my
that's true.
sub-basement level,
we both was-
self-esteem.
we was in the basement, yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny that you said that. So when you said you had this program for overcoming, so many people, because I always tell James, girls are vicious. Girls can be vicious.
Yes, they can be.
But then having a son, boys can be, some of the things he says that they say.
Oh my
They
gosh.
say to each other.
Yeah.
But why do we have a society that obviously nurtures that? Because it continues through the generations. You know what I mean? It comes from somewhere. So how does your program called, is it Rise Above?
It's called Rise Above.
Okay, and above is an acronym.
That is an acronym, yes.
What does the acronym above stand for?
Okay, so it means accepted, brave, overcomer, valuable, empowered. Wow. It's a 5-step program.
How'd you come up with that?
Last year, because I was already working on my speaking because I'm a motivational speaker, and then I was just like, I need to create something for the bullying because what I wrote in the memoirs book wasn't enough, and I don't know. I think it came to me like God gave it to me. It's actually what happened. I remember just hearing it in my head. It was like Rise Above, and I was like, okay, and then. he's the one who gave it to me.
So I want to go back real quick to Tanya, because you said she didn't know. Now, you all, was it because you didn't talk about it?
I don't, today now they talk about bullying. It's way
Right, they didn't
more,
talk about it back in the day.
Not so much back
Right.
in those days. It's more, remember they would tell you fight them, beat them back,
That's
punch them back.
I listened to that.
Yeah,
That's why I did.
but see that, like, my sister Tanya was like that. She would uppercut somebody that talked about my sister, talked about me or anybody else, and she'd be like, "Give me the number," and she would call back a few minutes later. Okay, it's done.
And
Okay,
I did
thank
that
you.
for my sister. If
So it was
somebody
like the
picked
mob
on her,
sister. You know what I mean?
If someone picked
And
on
she
my
gonna
sister,
take care of it. I
that
take care
That
of
was
it.
some of my fights. I had to defend my sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, see,
What you're not gonna do is touch my sister.
right? So you was
Yeah.
mama bear.
I was.
But see, like
And I still
Tanya
am.
was like that. Yeah, she was like that. So everybody deals with bullying different ways. So yours was like outward, like, oh no, you're not gonna do that to me.
Yeah.
It still didn't mean it didn't hurt. It still
Exactly.
didn't mean that there was effects from it.
Exactly.
I was quiet and I took it all in,
Mm-hmm.
so here's, I'm crying all the time, and it did another effect on me, more
Sure.
feeling depressed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like, the effects of that, PTSD you can get from that. That's where suicidal thoughts
Yes.
and all those different things
Yeah.
come accumulate, and your negative self-image of yourself.
Right.
Because it's now being defined by these people that even as an adult, you still can
You
revert
keep that,
back.
yeah.
Unless you start to work with that, and we all know how we can deal with those thoughts. But
So what is this program geared toward?
it is geared towards students, so elementary, high school, college students. I really would like to get to them in the elementary and high
Get 'em
school
young,
age.
yeah.
Because, in fourth grade, that's when I wanted to kill myself. So
Wow.
I understand that, and we see that even more prevalent today with 9-year-olds, 8-year-olds. I was 10? What is a 4-year-old, 10 years old?
Yeah,
At that
fourth grade.
time.
Yeah.
So I was 10. So, and that was without social media and all the things that's even
my
available.
I
gosh,
can't even
yeah.
It's
imagine
a
what
whole
people go
nother-
through now.
Yeah, it's,
With the
it's,
was it cyberbullying?
yeah, it's
Oh,
another
it's so
level.
much texting.
Yeah.
You
It's
get bullied
crazy.
through
It's
the
another
texting.
level now.
But what I was telling our son is that the bullies have something in them too that's suffering, that's in pain.
Absolutely.
And that's the way they know to lash out.
Right.
And they've learned it.
Also, we don't know what abuse is happening with them.
Exactly.
If they're getting verbally, emotionally abused. If they're having sexual abuse, or
Right.
we have no idea.
You don't know.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing about being aware and saying, okay, why I felt it was so important to begin this program. Now, there's other programs out there, but I know for me, it's something that I know firsthand because
You
I
lived
faced
it.
the bullying
You
and
lived it.
I dealt with the suicidal thoughts. So I understand both.
Well, you know what? A lot of us went through bullying. I know I did. Where I grew up, I grew up in Inglewood, and I grew up around gangs and fights and all kind of stuff on a regular basis. So you had to pick your fight.
Right.
You had to pick the fight.
You be fighting every day.
Yeah, because you had to, because if you get in the wrong fight, if you win, everybody's going to jump on you. If you lose, then you're a punk, and they're going to pick on you still. So you got to pick. So if you don't fight at all, they can't make a judgment. So I learned to do that, and you talk about insecure. Oh my gosh, I was so insecure. But it took me becoming a believer. I was 27 when I got saved. Even though I was selling drugs, doing drugs, playing music, I was doing all kind of things. On the outside, I looked like I had it all together. I looked half crazy, but I looked like I had it together crazy. You know what I mean? But inside, I was still insecure. I was still dealing with feelings of fear and inferiority that I had to deal with. And it wasn't until I was introduced to Christ that I understood what was going on. A lot of times when you have a gift in you, the enemy can see that. And a lot of people don't believe that there's a spiritual enemy, but there is. There is one. Regardless of what you may call it, there is a negative spiritual enemy out there that can see the gifting in you and seek to stifle that. It happened to me, it happened to you, it happened to Wendy, and it happens to people every single day, that the enemy, he knows 1 and 1 is 2. Because if he see 1 and 1 in you, he knows it's going to become 2. 2 and 2 is going to become 4. I need to shut her down now. I need to get her out of the game now. His grace, he sees us through it, and he'll take that negative thing and use it as a weapon to set other people free. You know, but listen, we got a commercial coming up right now. So listen, we have an awesome guest. We're thanking God for Ericka Glorious Moore, and we'll be right back after this message.
This book is the story of Jameson Harold Donovan, who lives in the city of Sussex Falls. Feeling trapped in his dysfunctional marriage to his wife and a stranger to his own children, thoughts of suicide dominate his waking hours. Jameson discovers he was selected before birth by the Almighty to receive quasi-angelic abilities. Between the ticks of the clock. Listening to JW Fusion with your hosts, James and Wendy B.
And we're back with our special guest, Ericka Glorious Moore. So, as we begin the next half of this hour,
She has so much to share, and
She
I love
does.
this, and it's empowering, and
it is.
it's something that's been needed for generations, and I'm excited that people are out here trying to create programs for that. So let's get back to Rise Above.
Okay. Woo!
I see these cards in front of me, and they're pretty, and
They're so pretty.
the writing is beautiful, and they say,
designed
I
them.
understand.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Okay, so I had mentioned before the break about the suicidal thoughts. And I talked about that from 4th grade, but I also faced those even last year. And when my sister died in 2015, I believe I went into like a depression from that, because 2 years before that, when my nephew died, I just really had a hard time readjusting to life, to the point that that I just, it wasn't even like I had a high level of stress in, at my job and everywhere, and it just kind of built up to just saying, let me just check out, let me go be with them. And so after going through that and have some counseling and talking with Pastor Nancy and the different things that I went through, I created these I understand cards. And because a person that's like in the middle of a crisis like that and having those kind of thoughts, to tell them, oh, you're pretty, or you got a lot, nobody wants to hear that.
Okay.
So it's like also that I learned that when I had this training, when I went to this workshop with suicide prevention.
Sure.
And it was like they were saying that most people would say, oh, that's what they want to hear. They're trying to check out.
Right.
They don't care about a job or how they look. They care about dealing with the pain that they don't know how they're going to get out of. And that's
And
what,
it seems so overwhelming that they
Right.
don't see a light at the end of that tunnel. They
Right.
don't see a way out other than to
Just
commit suicide.
right.
Yeah.
And so, and that was the result of some bullying that had happened at where I was at my job. And
Yeah, I've had the bullying. At
and,
work.
and so it kind of came to a head. I had that go on for like many years while I was there. And then it was another person that came along, and it was like that same thing. And it was like, and that was part of that, having that bullying and
Yeah.
another incident, so it was like bringing up a lot of the
Sure.
stuff back then. I'm
Triggers.
like, whoa. Yeah. And,
trigger. That's
yeah.
that's
yeah,
exactly
it was that
what it
is
is.
absolutely what happened.
Yeah.
And so during that time, it was a really hard time and period in my life. And so I created these I understand cards, and I have people, my friends, family, everybody writes an anonymous thing on the back.
this
And
is
then I have
nice.
the National Suicide Prevention Hotline on the bottom and the crisis text line for students and people, that need help right there and they just want to text. So,
This is awesome.
This is incredible. I
Yeah.
mean, and those two, that right there is enough sometimes to give someone a little bit of hope. I understand.
right.
That's huge. So how did you, I mean, obviously you've been through it. Had someone said, I understand at the time you felt that,
Right.
that would have helped so much.
Right.
And most of us don't know that. So that's good that we're getting that out.
Yeah. And because this is a Christian show, a lot of times there's a stigma over, to say you're having a hard time. Well, you're Christian. You go to the Word, and it was like I was praying in tongues. I'm reading the Word. I'm journaling and all that. And
You're still human.
I was still, and so that's another reason why I brought this up, because even for the Christian world, if a person reaches out and asks for help, I don't think even all those that I tried to reach out, I don't think they were getting it,
Right.
I would say, hey, I'm having these thoughts, oh, I have those thoughts too, it was like, let's just pray about it. It was like, no. And so it's also to be
Wow.
like when somebody's saying that, or to say, wait, hold on, do we need to go talk to a pastor? Do we need to, get you some help? Do we need to go to the hospital? What do we need to do right now?
So what are some of the things that someone would say, just from your experience and dealing with different people? Because for me, I don't think somebody going to say, I'm thinking of committing suicide today.
Yeah.
It's usually not that cut and dry.
Sometimes.
Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's more subtle that we have to kind of understand maybe even
pick up
the
the
tone.
cues.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are
Yeah.
some of the cues that
I
we
would
could look
say
for?
they having a hard time in life. They having a hard time seeing forward. Hopelessness, overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed for a long time. Looking at their stress level, seeing where they're at. But if they're just having a hard time seeing out and seeing ahead, and they don't really have a future, or they're not thinking so much about their future.
Yeah.
Just those kind of cues, or.
So what do we do? We pick up on what could be a cue. What's the next step that we do?
Well, the next step is what I learned too, was that you're supposed to ask them, do you need to go to the hospital right now? Do we need to take you over there? Do you need to get some help? Are you thinking, and you're actually supposed to ask the question,
Okay.
are you thinking about suicide?
Wow.
Actually say
You're
it.
supposed to say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they
'Cause
said,
I think most of us would be like, okay, I don't
because
want
they
to mention
don't
that. But
right,
how do
because
I
they think
dance
they
that?
think it'll make it more for the, but it's been proven that it
Just
has not.
say it.
It's been proven by, I guess, statistics, and when they did studies on that,
Mm-hmm.
that it will not make them want to go do it. Actually, it will
Okay.
help them to
Wow.
make a decision and say if they really need it. So it won't push them further in the direction of that. It'll actually get to the solution of
So
it.
it actually what had happened. So it sounds like what you're saying is that by you being stark with what's happening, it helps them to get the murky water out of the way, and they can see clearly. Look, this is what I'm about. This is what I'm considering.
Right.
Because sometimes the mind can play tricks on you, and it can seem like it's logical.
Absolutely.
It seems logical.
Fear is not right.
Yeah.
Fear makes it seem real logical.
Yeah, and then but
Comforting, a
yeah,
false
but
comfort.
But see, what you're saying though,
It's huge.
Ericka, is by you actually saying that,
Those
and
words.
you're presenting because a lot of times Christians, first thing we want to pray for them, where prayer has its place, but God
We
created.
pray on the way to the hospital.
God he created doctors. He created the science of psychiatry.
To get that help.
Different systems to deal with mental maladies that we deal with. God created those ideas for us because He knows that we're spirit, soul, and body.
Right.
We're not just spirit.
Right.
And sometimes prayer is not going to work for everything. You know what I mean? It's just not. There are other things that God has created and put in the earth for us to tap into, to bring that hope back to that person, to bring that light. Because it's kind of like I can imagine you're in a dark room. For me, it was the opposite. I wanted to murder people. I didn't want to commit suicide. When I was selling drugs, me and the guy
Yeah,
was
but
selling
that's
drugs.
a level of.
it's
the-
still a-
It's still
it's a
part
type.
of
It
it.
is.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's just inverted.
Right.
But it took me getting saved, and I realized that there was something that was on me, riding me, pushing me that way. Which it could have been suicide, but it turned around to be the other thing, and it's very prevalent. And I believe that same condition is what's happening in our society right now. Instead of people committing suicide, they're out committing murders. So many people that are getting shot senselessly.
Well, just to let you know that suicide is actually higher than homicide.
Is it?
Yes.
Wow.
On the list.
Wow.
So I wanted to ask you with suicide, because I unfortunately know a couple people who had a loved one commit suicide, and they both were like, well, I had no idea. I had just been with them and they were fine.
Yeah.
So how do you find cues if you don't really, maybe you do see it, but you don't know that's what a cue is?
Right.
But what do you do with that? Because, of course,
I don't think the
life-changing.
people around me didn't, realize it until after things happened.
Yeah.
That it was like, oh, I realize now that you were trying to reach out.
But how do we get in front of that? We're busy.
I
we
would
got
just
our own
I
issues.
would probably say to pray to God for discernment. Like if somebody's like, if you're hearing multiple times somebody's like, man, I'm struggling financially, or I'm getting bullied, or I'm having a hard time right now with functioning in life.
Sure.
If you're just hearing what they're saying, and also just making sure to listen. And you're also asking questions. But like if a person is saying to you, if I came to you and say, hey, Wendy, I'm having a hard time. I've been at a high level of stress financially, high level of stress. I was getting bullied, a high level of this. I don't even know how I'm gonna go on. That should be a huge indicator.
That's code.
Yeah,
for
those
help
are
me, I
things
need
that
help.
you need to see. Because people do give off cues.
Okay.
They do give them off. You just need to pay attention. Like you said, a lot of times we can be busy in life.
Yeah, we're busy. We got our own stress. We
but
have our own
I
issues.
think-
And then someone says, I can't pay my bills. Girl,
Yeah.
me either.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind
Right.
of divert to
But
that.
you got to understand, so again, you'd have to listen to see how long they've been talking about this, or, you know
But
what I
the
mean?
key word is we have to listen more to
You
each
have
other.
to listen, but if they actually are saying that word, with hopelessness in life, I don't know how I can live, that's when you need to ask the question,
Sure.
are you thinking about suicide?
Yeah.
You got to put it on
Yeah.
the table.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just say it.
Because if you have someone standing, in front of you on the phone or whatever, and then you didn't answer that question, and they go do something, and it's like, okay, if I would have asked this
I didn't want
question,
to embarrass them.
yeah, because it would. See, that's the thing. The stigma of it is not a stigma. If you make it a stigma, it's gonna be a stigma. If it's not, if
Definitely.
you make it
What
transparent,
what you're saying
That's
is
huge.
powerful, because I think most people wouldn't be comfortable saying, are you considering suicide?
No.
Are you thinking about suicide? And that's the very thing the person needs to hear.
yeah, exactly. It's
You
the
know.
transparency of it.
It is.
It's showing a caring too.
Yeah, I think that's something that that people in general, no matter what your religious belief is, I think we need to be more caring about the people that are right next to us.
Definitely.
And pay attention. If I say I'm your friend and I know you're going through a difficulty, I need to pay attention to what you're saying. And I think the sensitivity is missing because we're so busy in part, and because
And we're so
someti-
jaded too. I
Well,
think
yeah,
part of it. Every
people-
time you turn on the news, there's something like, oh, okay, somebody else.
Yeah, because we
So now
desensitized.
You
Yes,
depressed.
desensitized.
So,
That's it.
okay.
That's the word.
That's really
Yes.
Yeah.
that too. Like, oh, it's not that serious.
Right.
But, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
but we've
yeah.
seen even pastors that just kill
Yes.
themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Recently, it's something that's in the air too. In this culture, in this time,
Sure,
because of
sure.
the level of stress. So
Yeah.
that's also something I don't think was as. I mean, suicide has always been there, but it just seemed like it's definitely been on the rise. Like I was just reading on somebody's Facebook page. What was that? Friday, I think, Friday or Thursday. And she goes, "Oh, I'm late to work." She goes, because somebody committed suicide on the tracks. And it was just a regular little
Wow.
thing on there.
my
And I've
gosh.
seen her say that on how many times on her Facebook page through the years,
Wow.
how people stand in front of the tracks. And it's like, 1 out of 5 students are getting bullied. 1 out of 5.
That's a lot.
1 out of
That's-
5. And if we're not dealing with that,
Yeah.
suicide is the third highest killer for adolescents and teenagers.
And in addition to programs like yours, which is huge, as parents, as the adults in these children's lives, we
Right.
need to have that conversation
Yes.
about, because my son has said to, I'm like, I need you to not do that again. Because you never know. You're saying this in jest, but you never know why this person was behaving this way, and you're just pouring salt on that wound. So I need you to be a little bit more understanding. So at home, we need to address.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, especially, and Matthew hates it. Lord, we be watching TV and something happen. And so what do you think about that? He's like, here she go. I just want to make sure you understand. This person committed suicide. This person killed some. I mean, whatever it is.
Right.
He knows, Mom, here she go with her teachable moments.
But babe, you know what?
Why not?
This,
he hates it, girl.
This is an example of the importance of what we saw this morning at church. We saw the little 3-year-old.
Yes.
And his dad teaching him the family
great.
values.
And he's been
how
them
to
out
treat
too.
people.
Yes.
And that I wasn't taught that. I wasn't taught. I just grew up. I really wasn't taught. I learned what I learned out in the street.
That wasn't part of the culture when we
It
were
was
coming
not.
up, though.
It was not. It was not. But it needs to be now because of the world we live in. And I think what would really be awesome is like what Ericka is doing with Memoirs of Singlehood. If she had a booklet for parents to share with their young children, they're like
Right, because she
4,
has the
5,
experience from
5,
being
6
that
years
little
old.
girl.
Yeah, because you were young and you can relate. And we don't forget stuff. I remember
Right.
stuff that happened to me when I was
can
6
remember
and 7.
everything.
Yeah.
A teacher said, a
Everything.
student said, a
especially
family.
women, we can
Yes.
we can
Yeah.
remember
You know what's
everything.
so funny too, and it's not. I don't mean how
I know
funny,
what
but
you mean. Yeah.
you see a pretty little girl, and you think, oh, she got it made. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, the prettier you are coming up, you know, the worse you get treated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know about
That's
in our
true.
culture with the long, pretty hair.
Oh, they didn't
See,
like
now,
that.
No,
Yeah.
the little girls
Yeah.
don't like
They
that.
didn't like
Yeah.
Which is sad. But again, at home, if we're talking to our children, and I know we're busy, we got bills, we got to clean this, we got to cook dinner, we had these children, so we have to take the responsibility to having that conversation.
Right.
You know, because short story, when I went to go natural, I was scared. Because I'm like, the society, you know, they like the long, flowy, pretty stuff, and that's not the way you was made,
It
Wendy.
is so cute.
And it took me a long time
And you had
to
the
just,
long, straight hair.
well, you know, thanks to chemicals. But that's the society, that's the stigma that I thought, you know, guys like girls with long, pretty, flowing hair. I was y'all don't understand. I was scared, but
Scared.
Right, I was scared, and that's sad that you can't be the person God created you to be. Now, if you had a long, flowy, straight hair, that's great. If you prefer to make it straight, that's great.
Whatever you do,
but if you want to rock whatever you want to rock,
Right.
that should be
You
okay.
should have that right.
Right.
You
Yeah,
should have that
but
right.
I've been, you know,
Yeah.
been called nappy headed, and I'm like, I sure am, sweetheart. That's okay though, because that's the way the Lord made me,
Yeah.
and I'm fine with that. But it took me a long time to get to that point. So even growing up, you see on TV, you know, the commercials, they get the hair is swinging.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that, then you could be teased about that, or you could be teased because you have that. Oh, you think you all
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Because you.
Yeah.
And I always respond, well, I should, and I would hope that you felt the same about yourself.
Right.
You should think you're all that because you're created by God.
Right.
Yeah.
So we need to have those conversations as adults and parents.
And
Right.
I think we also need to call people on their mess,
Yes.
because I know I work for a government regulatory agency, and they have zero tolerance for sexual harassment. They have zero tolerance for bullying, because it was very prevalent in that type of industry, because you have a lot of guys in the trades. And then I'm an environmental specialist, so I'm in between the labs and the engineers. And you don't have it so much there, but certain segments you have that. But then you have the sexual harassment that was happening everywhere. And so they have zero tolerance. So what needs to happen is individuals who are doing this stuff need to be called on it. As soon, the first time it happens, you know, they need to have the rug snatched out from under them, have a reality check. Now, if you want to keep working here, you need to amend your behavior. You know,
Right.
and I think
And get the help needed.
Yeah, and
Because
I
obviously
think-
you need help.
you
need
do
help.
need help. You do need help. But the thing is, too often people don't call stink. They don't call it that. Oh, I'm just joking around. No, you're not.
Right.
You meant everything you said.
Or if you are joking, let's help you understand why it's not funny.
Why it's not acceptable.
It's not acceptable.
Yes.
It's not funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it needs to happen. It really does. The government agencies are doing it. Some private sector places, but smaller places where you're dealing with the public a lot, like nursing homes, hospitals, places like that. all kind of stuff
Yeah.
goes on. But it needs to stop. And
But it's made okay for so long because there's a story in the media. We won't mention names. But
Y'all can all
it's been
guess
a
it. I'm looking
long
at the camera, right?
It's
Y'all
been
can
a
guess.
long time that this person has been allowed to be this way and has a whole machine around them. I need this person, they go get her.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not just that person. That person can't do this by themselves because other people know and they make it okay. They make it acceptable.
Well, again, it's the system permitting power to pervert and to abuse.
Right.
Because you have power financially, you have power in the industry, you have power with media.
And it's financial.
You're allowed.
It's that bottom
so,
line.
Yeah, money. But it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
And I'm so happy that people are calling and standing up now, because I remember this particular person used to come to my job because he was seeing someone, one of my coworkers, and he would come there in his whatever he was driving, and nobody knew at that time who he was or how. We knew who he was. He was real popular, famous, but we didn't know how he was till later. So then after it came out, we started looking at her like, did you know? But now it's being called out.
Yeah.
But the thing about that story is that, no, we don't want to say names, is that something happened to him as a child. And that's what I try, Matthew, I'm
A lot
telling you,
of
he's like,
times
every
it
time this woman
always-
watch TV, we got to have a conversation. But it's true. I'm like, something happened to him. It happened to his brother.
Right.
And no one understood it. No one believed it. No one listened to the cries of these
Listen.
children. That
Right.
something was happening to them. So he just grew up doing what was done to him.
Yeah.
So it doesn't
Yeah.
make it okay. But
No.
what if, say, rise above, he had been in school and heard this
Right.
and knew, let me go talk to someone.
Right.
I have a friend who told her mother, this is being done to me. And her mother said, you're lying.
Oh, I've heard
So
that
imagine the way she grew up.
story. I've heard that story.
But these programs are so important. So the younger that you get in there with them little kindergartners.
Yeah.
While
Yeah.
you drawing, let me talk to
Right,
you.
right.
And tell you what's
It's
right, what's
true.
not, what's not right.
And it's like you had said earlier too about, well, now you're like, look, this is who I am.
Yeah.
See, that's what I want them to know now, though.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
Had you said that, if time had contorted in a way.
Right. I would have been happy
You
about
could've
how
told
I
me,
look.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
you could have
And
told me
say-
younger had I went to an assembly and
Right.
heard this.
And said, yeah. So that's part of the steps that I give is overcome obstacles, reduce risk factors, some of those things I
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
And that reducing the risk factors is to listen, with
Sure,
the
sure,
suicidal
sure.
things. So that's where it's
Sure.
reducing the risk factor, taking proactive steps,
Sure.
that the students would take the proactive, okay, I'm getting bullied right now. I'm getting somebody to know that that's their problem, the
Right.
bully's problem.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so how can we
And
get
parents
them
stop
some
excusing
help?
that away. My baby would never do that.
Right, yeah.
You
And
have to know your
listen
child.
and admit,
Yeah.
and everybody, because
Yeah, yeah.
because things can be very damaging. I had that happen with somebody I knew, and they were getting made fun by the students, but also one of the teachers did it.
Oh,
Yes.
boy.
And
'Cause teachers are human. They
and
have
it
their own
and
pain.
it did it in front of all the kids.
Yes.
And so that caused that person to
That's
turn
horrible.
inside.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so, like, if you can't even talk to those, above you at different times, and we all know this too, when you're a student and you speak up, then you're going to get bullied more because
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a tattletale.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why it's like, but let me give you the tools.
Right. Yeah.
Let's give the
Yeah.
students the tools.
They both need the tools. The one that's being bullied needs some tools, but
Right.
the bullier,
Because
the person who's doing the bullying,
their
need help as well.
Right, because they have hurts. Like
and
you
that
said.
they have a big. They should have a stigma, but they have a bigger stigma because you're doing wrong to this person. Well, let's
Right.
find out why.
Right.
Let's heal that so they don't feel the need to be that way to other
Right,
people.
Right. And we see that now, like even with the things that's happening in school, like it could be a simple thing as they have dirty clothes.
Uh-huh.
You know
Why
what
do
I
they
mean?
have dirty
And
clothes?
you see how they were beaten
Yeah.
up and all that, and
Yeah.
then the principal had the wash machines and all that.
yeah.
But you see, but it was like he said he noticed what was happening.
He paid attention.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That is vital what you just said, that the bully often has the issue. And I know back in the day, it was a thing where, if a guy goes out, he's known for beating up other kids, yeah, my boy, he's pretty tough. Pretty
Right.
tough kid. Though.
It's
Nobody
celebrated.
messes with him.
It's celebrated.
He better not come home, and have lost. Because see, now that tells me that something's being done to this kid. This kid's facing violence, and so his only way to feel empowered is to go do likewise to someone else.
Right.
These are the kind of things that I know have to be dealt with the parents.
It has to be.
Because these
And parents, get your own stuff
Well,
straightened
and
out.
also like to see, like I had mentioned earlier, if you got an elementary school student, like how it was for me, I went to elementary school, then I went to high school. They was with me there. So if you
I
get
purposely
bullied,
went to a high school no one else was going to.
okay, but I'm saying
I
in that
purposely did
situation,
that.
if you're going from
Yeah,
all the way
it's
to
gonna stay
kindergarten
there.
and they with you, so you with these bullies that
Yeah.
whole time, and if you don't know the tools,
Yeah.
and you don't, so then you're with that bullying for maybe 10 years of your
oh
life.
my gosh,
That's a long time
that
Yeah.
to
stuff
be
gets
around a
ingrained.
bully.
Yeah, that's
it
just
is.
you
So that's why
believe
they
everything
need
that they're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why they need the tools, because they may be in longevity with that bully.
Then you grow up,
Right.
as little girls, you grow up, and then you're in that relationship where, okay, if he doesn't hit me, then obviously
Right. That's
That's-
normal.
that's normal.
Right.
Wait a
Yeah.
minute. I was seeing a young lady. I was in high school, and I've told you this story. I was a senior in high school. She was younger than I was, and she asked me one time, "How come you never hit me?" I said, "What?" She said, "How come you never hit me? All my friends, their boyfriends hit them." I said, "Well, I don't think you're supposed to hit." Well, we'd say girls then. You're not supposed to hit girls. Yeah, but all my friends, they hit them. And she's pushing me to have sex with her. And I wouldn't. She said, "Well, what's the matter? You scared?" I said, "I don't care what you say.
Right.
I'm not having sex with you." Now, I was
he's trying to trigger you.
I'm
into anger.
I'm a street dude. I was in a gang. But something in me said, don't do that.
You knew you had enough sense.
I had enough sense to
enough.
know,
Just
don't
enough.
you do that.
Yeah.
First she's saying hit me. Then she's trying to get you, No.
But that's what she knows. That's her
my
identity.
point. That's my
who
point.
She is.
That she saw that as the norm.
It is,
Right.
yeah.
And
that's
that's
so
the
sad
stuff.
because so many young people feel that way.
They do.
It's
They
in their
do.
home, or like you said, her friends, the group of friends.
Yeah.
And it's normal.
And it's programming, like I read in my book, programming of the subconscious begins year one. Mm-hmm. Your subconscious starts to build up those critical factors, the things that you accept as acceptable, the things that are unacceptable, which causes us to grow up fearful, faithless, hopeless, thinking that we can't do what other people can do because of the environment we're in. It programs us, and we have to be deprogrammed and reprogrammed, which Jesus called the renewing of the mind. We have to renew or rebuild, refurbish our minds, our subconscious minds, from the things that were heaped upon us. We didn't ask for it. It just got dumped on us because of the wickedness that we're surrounded by. And I think, I know for a fact that a lot of the things that's happening in our society right now is because of things that were programmed into children. I believe that. I know that to be a fact.
Man, this is such a good conversation. Ericka, you are doing some powerful work, and I'm so excited to call you friend.
Oh, thank you.
But just tell the people,
What you talking about? What you talking about? Ericka, family.
Okay, my girl, you sister.
Family.
Tell people how they can reach out, find out what you're doing, where you're going to be speaking, everything about Ericka Glorious Moore.
Okay, so they can go to my website, erickagloriousmoore.com. You can also find me on Facebook.
That's Ericka CK.
That's correct.
There's a few
C and
ways to
K.
spell it, Ericka.
Right, like think of Rick.
Okay.
Rick always has a C and a K. That's what happened. That's the whole story behind that. It's another show.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, and then they can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and
Okay.
Everything's Ericka Glorious Moore.
Ericka Glorious _ the story of E on the Instagram.
Story
Okay.
of E.
What we'll do, we'll post, I'll create a page at the end of our broadcast to show
With
all your
everything
contact
Ericka.
info. All
Well,
right?
thank you.
Thank you for
Well,
being
listen,
on the show. This was
we
a
thank
powerful
you for
show. I
joining
hope that
us.
someone is touched.
Well, I know they were.
And if you know someone who's thinking of committing suicide or you're thinking of it yourself, reach out
Call
to
that number.
the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255.
And we're going to put that on the screen as well. So until next time, allow God's grace to continue to flow in your life as a mighty river.
Hi, this is Wendy, and welcome to The Wendy Life. This is a brand new show. We are celebrating some unsung champions in our community, the disabled community. I have been a mom of disabled children for 21 years, and I look to bring light to this community. We are going to talk to and celebrate therapists, teachers, doctors in this community. We're going to talk to the special needs community themselves. People who are rocking out this life despite their disability, showing us how to live our best lives no matter what life throws at us. You can find us on the Ultimate Faith TV network, which is on your Roku streaming box, or Road to Eternity on YouTube. That's Road, the number 2, and Eternity. Come check us out.
The Wendy Life. New episodes every second and fourth Friday on the Road to Eternity channel.
Thanks for listening to JW Fusion with your hosts, James and Wendy B.